and welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my guest today, Tim Lofton. Welcome back, Tim. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Paul.
You know, listen, we've talked a lot the last few days about everything from retirement planning, and we talked about estate planning, we've talked about long-term care, we've talked about a lot of different subjects. But one of the things we're getting a lot of caller feedback from is taxes, taxes, taxes.
Right.
I think everybody wants to know that crystal ball, right? So tell us a little bit about, the impact on taxes and capital gains and these things that are being proposed.
Sure. So, I mean, the people get very emotional, as understandably so, about taxes and the impact that taxes are going to have. And you got to understand where people are coming from. I mean, if you're on fixed income and you were getting $50,000 a year and now you're getting $45,000 a year because your tax bill went up, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's lost a lot of times on people that are working, understanding that for a retiree, anything that makes their income go down is a negative impact. And I'll never forget, I mean, one of the first lessons I learned when I got into the business was that the question that people ask is not necessarily what they're concerned about. And so I started my career right out of college. I was working at a bank, and this lady came in and she was complaining about CD rates and how low the CD rates were. And I didn't really think anything about it. And one of my mentors said, well, it's not really the CD rate that she's worried about, it's the income that she gets from the CD. And I figured that out when I had a conversation with my grandfather, and he told me that he just had a CD that came due. He had $100,000. He was getting $10,000 a year in an income, and that it went to $3,000. And so obviously things didn't get cheaper over 10 years. They got more expensive, and his income dropped $7,000 or 70%.
Yeah, that's a big hit.
So, there's a reason why taxes are a hot topic right now. And I think there's a concern, maybe the impact on the economy and, what's going to happen to things if the economy's kind of stifled because of all these taxes. But the bottom line is this. There's 2 or 3 different things that are being proposed that may or may not happen, that may or may not impact folks. And, one of the big ones is capital gains. And I think, for what we do for a living, capital gains is a big deal.
Yes.
Because when I first started in the business, the capital gains rate was 28%. And at 28%, it was a difficult decision for people to make on, do I, sell what I have to go to something that's maybe safer or better if I'm going to lose 28% of it. And so that's a difficult decision for folks to make, and
yes, understandably,
it can keep them from making the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
More importantly, the other thing that is kind of floating around out there is the concern about step up in basis, and so I had this conversation a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman, and he was confused. I think I'm being nice. We had a bit of a disagreement, and he said, well, that's only going to impact rich people. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? He said, the step up in basis thing, that's estate taxes. And he said, you can die with $13 million, and starts quoting all these numbers. And I'm like, no, that's the opposite of accurate. Step up in basis is going to impact everyone. Everybody that has an investment that was worth this and now is worth that, when they pass away, the way that works right now is the value steps up for the tax basis of who inherits it. Yeah. And so for our viewers at home, that means, quite simply, that your grandmother bought Procter & Gamble and put $25,000 in it, and now her Procter & Gamble's worth $250,000, that when you inherit that today, the way that it stands, that $250,000 is worth $250,000 from a tax basis standpoint. If step up in basis goes away, the way that would work is that your tax basis is $25,000. Big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think there's some concern there, and the impact it could have on the economy and other things.
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because I got one piece of advice for that gentleman. Step away from the search engine, sir.
Right.
You know, because I think that's where a lot of people get themselves in trouble.
Google planning.
They get out there and they just go crazy.
They're doing Google planning.
Yeah, the Google planning and
Yahoo
YouTube video.
said.
Yeah, and just remember there's a .com on the end there, right? .com. That's the commercial, but good stuff there. Thank you for sharing that. Do you mind? Do we have time for a quick question here on taxes?
Sure. Yeah.
Actually, I thought this one was fascinating. I was reading this and it was interesting. What is the number one strategy anyone can use to lower taxes?
That's super simple, Paul. Give all your money away. If you just give all your money away, you don't have any tax issues.
Yeah, but I want to give it to who I want to, Tim, not
Right.
Uncle Sam. He gets enough.
Well, this conversation comes up all the time. We have these questionnaires that people fill out, and they'll say, what's something you're very concerned about, and they'll be like reducing your taxes. And you look at their situation, and they've just done a great job, right? They don't have any debt. They have all this money from pension and Social Security and all this investment money that they've saved, and they're like, well, how can we reduce our taxes? And I'm like, you can give it away. I mean, there's really nothing we can do here. I mean, we're in the tax minimization business, not the tax elimination business. I remind people, do you know what a tax is? It's a fine for doing well.
Right. There you go.
A fine is a tax for doing wrong. A tax is a fine for doing well.
That's pretty good. I like that.
One of the things that I try and get people to kind of change their thought process is having a tax problem sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah.
That means that you have a lot of income, and you're getting to live the life that you wanted to live, and it's the result of all the hard work and all the saving and all the things that you did up to that point of retirement. And so the idea that you're now burdened with this tax issue is the result of you just doing a good job.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah.
But there is things that you can do. We can talk about that after break.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that, because I think that's really good. Well, listen. We got to open up the phone lines because we got a wonderful offer. Tim and his team are offering 10 completely complimentary reviews, retirement blueprints. They'll actually sit down and help you establish. Reach out and call them right away at 855-684-3485. Again, completely complimentary, those initial consultations. Sometimes they could be as much as $1,500. I've seen them advertised for that much. Again, that number is 855-684-3485. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these messages. Stay with us.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Hello and welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my buddy, Tim Lofton. We're just having a good time here, offset. But listen, you had mentioned something that I just got to address this, right?
Okay.
So the whole point is, Tim, what if I don't want to give all my money away?
Oh, so you don't like that tax strategy of just giving it all away?
And maybe I got an uncle I want to give it to, but it's not Uncle Sam.
Okay, fair enough. So there's a lot of great ideas. There's things that you can do. We talk about the difference between tax planning and tax preparation.
Yes.
Right? Tax preparation is how do I pay the least amount of taxes each year. Tax planning is designing a plan for me to make sure that over the next 20 or 30 years that I have the most tax efficient process possible. And so one of those things sometimes is Roth IRA conversions. Other tricks of the trade that we have seen from a tax law standpoint is like the required minimum distribution. That changed from 70.5 to 72 last year with the CARES Act. And so not all the time, but I would say, about 25 or 30% of the time, we have clients that are required to take their minimum distribution out that don't actually need it. Most of our clients use the required minimum distribution. It happens to be about the amount of money that they need to add to their Social Security income, their pension income, to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But we do have that 20 to 30% that just don't need it. And, they're sitting there at the table in our conference room saying, what do we do with this money? And so one suggestion is this. If you are charitably minded, if you're already giving, say you're tithing to church or giving to the Humane Association or, cancer or whatever it is that you have a heart for, one of the easy fixes is to use that required minimum distribution as a distribution source for your charitable giving. A lot of times we will see people that are giving out of a checking or savings account, and we'll ask, well, why are you giving from checking or savings? They'll say, well, that's our lowest performing, that's where we're getting our least return on our money.
Exactly.
And that makes total sense.
Sure.
But the better plan, that's a good plan, the better plan is to look at that IRA required minimum distribution where you may be paying 20, 30% tax on and saying, I can go straight to the charity with that.
I didn't realize you could do that.
Keep my money in my savings account, and I still accomplish my charitable giving in a much more tax-efficient manner. So those are the types of things that, for our viewers at home, if you're looking for tax strategies, if you're looking for tax planning, pick up the phone and call us. Come and sit down and talk to us. These are the types of things that we can help assist and develop a plan for you to make sure that you're getting the most optimum way of going through retirement, whether it be taxes, estate planning, or income planning.
Good stuff. Time for another question?
Okay, sure.
Okay, another tax question.
All right.
I like the tax questions.
Yeah, just don't give me a hard one.
I won't give you a hard one.
I don't want to be on TV and not know the answer.
Then you'd be me. we flip seats here. Is it difficult to do a Roth conversion on an IRA?
Well, no, it's super easy. The question is, does it make sense for you to do that? And so a lot of times people have great ideas that they've read about, and a Roth IRA conversion is one of those. But does it make sense for you as an individual? Does it make sense for your plan? See, one of the things that we talk about with planning is let's build the plan, and we build the plan. It'll tell us the things that we should do. It'll give us the options that we have to address. It may be that Roth IRA conversion makes total sense, like it did for our clients that I mentioned earlier, or it may be that it just doesn't. And there's a lot of times that we do the math, just like that crossover point for claiming, waiting on Social Security. It may be 80, 82. Well, maybe 90. On the conversion, and so understanding kind of what is the best thing for today. The other thing you got to look at is tax rates. If taxes go up, it may not make a lot of sense. And then the last thing that a lot of times people miss out on is when markets go the other way on you. We've seen a lot of times where our wealth management team will bring to the attention of our clients when something goes down 20 or 30% that's in an IRA, that's the perfect time maybe to look at a conversion because you're getting a 30% discount on what you're converting. And so, again, having that team of different people that are experts in those different areas all looking at the same plan ends up with people having a much better plan.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful point to make, too, that what you're really talking about is the value of time, really. Your time, someone else's time. Most of the wealthy folks understand that you pay for experts.
Right.
You pay for their time so they can do things they want to do with the time they have remaining, right? And I think that's just a really good thing to consider. I wanted to ask you, I wonder what your thoughts are, because this is one that it's closer to me. It's a question I've been toying with, thinking about in my own retirement. You hear a lot about annuities, on the positive side, the negative side. I mean, there is so much information out there, and it confuses a lot of people, to be honest with you, Tim.
It does.
You know, what is your thought about annuities? Are they right? Are they wrong? I mean, what's the hullabaloo?
Well, let me give you a more global statement. Any investment that exists out there is good for somebody. It may not be good for you, but that doesn't make it a bad idea. And I think with annuities, we have people come in the office that, I mean, if you just say the word annuity or you say the word life insurance, it's like you can physically see a reaction.
Yeah.
And, I'm always interested in that because it's like, what experience did they have that made them, feel that way?
Yes.
And, it could be as simple as, Susie Orman said, which is,
this is good. This is good. That's one of my, okay, we're going to get to that.
Don't get me started on Susie. All right.
I'm talking about somebody, I'm thinking of someone else, but that's okay.
So it could be something as that, or just a misunderstanding of annuities in general. I mean, you have different types of annuities. You have a fixed annuity, which essentially works like a CD.
Yep.
You put it in, you get a fixed rate, it comes due, you get your money back, it's tax deferred. Pretty simple. There's no expenses in owning it. It's very, very simple to understand. Then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have variable annuities, which are unbelievably complicated. They have 50 bells and whistles. There's a ton of expenses, 2, 3, 4.5% plus. We just saw a client that had a 6% fee inside of their variable annuity. And that's the kind of thing where people are like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I would agree with that. That is crazy. But here's the thing. Cost is an issue in absence of value.
Right.
Right?
That's so true.
If what you're getting for your money is worth it to you, then it's a good deal. If it's not, then it's not. And then, of course, in the middle there, you have that fixed indexed annuity or index annuity, which is kind of the sweet spot for a lot of retirees, because a lot of times if they're not taking income, if there's no income guarantee, there's no internal operating expense, they still get a lot of times bond-like returns. In other words, they're getting that bond-like return with no downside risk, which is really attractive a lot of times as they're putting together a portfolio. And so you have these different types of annuities. Some are a great fit for people, some are not. Some people shouldn't have them at all, and some people should absolutely have them. It just really depends on the individual. That's where the plan comes into play.
Yeah.
Don't get talked out of it by a Google search or Susie Orman.
Yeah, or some other radio show host.
Or some other radio show host.
And that's really the key, ladies and gentlemen. It comes down to that. It really is about you, your individual need. It can suit you perfectly. The key is to talk to a professional, an expert that knows what to do, that knows how to listen to what your plan is and what your goals are, right? So that's really good stuff. Listen, we're going to take a short break here in a little bit, but the phone lines are open. There's some spots available. Again, please meet with Tim and his team. I think you'll for sure have a good time. I can promise you that, but you'll definitely learn a lot. So pick up the phone, call 855-684-3485. Operators are standing by. Again, Tim and his team looking forward to meeting with you and helping you putting yourself on that road, that path to financial freedom. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these short messages. Stay with us.
As you prepare for, transition into, and navigate retirement, there's one thing you're sure to have: questions. Lots of questions about retirement. Like, when can I retire? Will I run out of money? Who pays for nursing home care? And many, many more.
We use the Beta Blueprint retirement planning software to help answer your questions.
This program takes stacks of documents from every area of your financial life and converts them into one large picture. Just as you would never buy a house without seeing it first, why would you ever retire without being able to visualize it? By being able to see the whole picture, you can then make better decisions about your retirement. First, the blueprint looks at your top goals and concerns. Then, we look at your age and the trigger age decisions you have to make, like when to take Social Security, Medicare, and required minimum distributions. Next, we analyze your fixed income streams and compare that to your retirement lifestyle. For most people, their lifestyle exceeds their income, so we determine which assets to tap to make up the difference. When looking at assets, there are 3 key numbers we want you to know. The first number is the risk score of what you own. Every investor has a risk tolerance, and every investment has a risk score. The risk scale runs from 1 to 99, and the S&P 500 has a score of 78. We use a scientific framework that won the Nobel Prize for Economics for its ability to identify true risk tolerance. If you were taking too much risk, when would you want to know? The second number we want to know is the maximum drawdown of what you own. Maximum drawdown is the maximum loss from a market peak to a market trough. The maximum drawdown of the S&P 500 in 2008 was about 51%. What was the maximum drawdown of what you own? And the third number is your annual withdrawal rate percent. If you're taking too much here, you could run out of money. Finally, we look at your insurance and long-term care. Do you have life insurance? If so, what type, and does it expire? We analyze the income reduction from losing a spouse. We want to know if the surviving spouse will be protected. Have you planned for long-term care? Do you know all your health care options? Being able to put all this information in picture format is like watching holistic planning come to life. Your financial picture helps us identify the potential cracks and red flags in your overall retirement plan. Remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Discover the power of the picture for your retirement. Learn how to get a blueprint of your life.
Welcome back to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my buddy, Tim. We got to talk a little bit about COVID for a minute. And I think a lot of Americans are seeing, some of the fallout. We've learned a lot about ourselves coming through this. The inflation that we've seen in this short window of time. I mean, you look at the cost of food, you look at the cost of gasoline, you look at the cost of pretty much anything, and you've got a really good clip in this short 12-month cycle of what inflation can do, right?
Sure.
How concerned should we be as a country about future inflation?
So, I mean, one of the things that, we talk about the pendulum swing and how it goes back and forth and with everything. This is a horrible idea. It's a great idea. This is, a horrible place to be. This is the best place to be. And, inflation is coming to some degree on the heels of demand. If you look at steel right now, the demand for steel, we saw steel prices go from $300 and some up to $1,300, and the demand for steel for everything from ships to cars to, if this infrastructure bill passes, there's so much going on with that. And is it inflationary? It is, but it can also be a positive from a growth standpoint. And so, the big inflation, I think, is one of those things where you really have to take a look at it through the lens of time. And a lot of times we get caught up in the here and now. That's very normal for us. We're a now society, right? I mean, my kids don't understand why if I order something from Amazon today, it would take 2 days, not just 1 day to get here, right? I mean, or heaven help me if it's like delayed a week. It's like, oh my gosh, like I have to wait a week.
Oh, the pain!
I just ordered it. I mean, what are the Amazon fairies doing out there to not fly it to me? And so that's we've kind of developed into that culture. I mean, think of where internet was when you and I first saw our internet. We pushed a button and made that weird sound and a dial-up. And we would hit enter and we'd go make a sandwich and come back and then the website would pull up.
Yeah, exactly.
All 3 of them. There was nothing. And now it's like if my finger comes off and the screen hasn't changed, I'm like, honey, call Spectrum. Something's broken. I mean,
I'm just so glad Al Gore invented the internet.
I know. Thank God for him. I mean, bless his heart.
Sorry, Al.
We have to look at inflation over time. Here's the thing that you need to know. As someone entering into retirement, things are going to get more expensive. That's what you need to know.
Yeah.
When we have our lunch and learns, I always ask the question, who in here paid more for their last car than they did their first house? And every hand goes up. That's inflation. We understand that it's going to happen. The key is do you have a plan to keep up with it? And so there's certain things that grow faster than average inflation, education, health care, and then there's some things that grow slower than inflation, but we understand that things are going to get more expensive.
Yeah.
So when we're developing a plan, one of the things on our blueprint sheet that it does is it shows, if you need X amount of dollars a month this year, what that looks like 10 years from now. Because that is a big eye-opener for a lot of folks.
Oh, yeah.
That, I think, is the thing that people need to pay attention to, not necessarily the inflationary environment that we could be in today or the next couple, 3 years, but where are we going? What are those averages? And the numbers are, arguably, people don't like the government number. I don't like the government number. What I'll tell you is it's consistent.
Right.
Whether or not you think they calculate it correctly or not is irrelevant to the fact that it develops a baseline. If you go up or down, interest, from the standpoint of inflation, it's either increased or decreased. Whether or not you like how they got the number really doesn't matter. I mean, it really doesn't. We could fight about that all day long, along with how old the earth is. I mean, it doesn't, that's not the thing we need to argue about.
Right.
What we need to do is put a plan together that is going to keep up with inflation. And that's one of the things that we can do.
Yeah.
Come in and let us build an income plan for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the answer, and show you what inflation and how it will impact your retirement.
That's right. It's because the key is the resolution. That's what we're talking about, right? Not burying your head in the sand when you have a problem that comes up. It's like, what am I going to do to solve this? What am I going to do? And that's where Tim and his team comes in, right? Because you're willing and able, if memory serves me correctly, right?
Well, 27 years of doing planning, we have seen it all. And so no matter where you are at home today, to our viewers, we've seen it. You don't have a story that's going to be so far outside of other things that we've seen. You're going to have your story, and your story is yours, and it's special. And we want to hear about it. And we want to do life with you.
Yeah.
But understand that you're not going to hit us with something that we can't handle. So pick up the phone and give us a call.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Thank you again for being with us today. Your information is so invaluable. Listen, there's a few spots available. And now you see what this is about. It's about you. It's about your time. Your time is so precious. And we want you to spend it doing the things you want to do, not the things you have to do. And it just takes a good plan. It takes a great blueprint. Let Tim and his team build that for you. The number to call, 855-684-3485. Again, that's 855-684-3485. We want to thank you for being with us today. And I want to leave you with this one question. I want you to think about it. If you're thinking about, should I pick up that phone? What does your tomorrow look like? Find out today. Pick up the phone and call. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Be well.